everybody, and welcome back to the channel and to the Ultimate Racing League. This is our Sunday season and I'm with the League 4 guys. 5 leagues throughout the Sunday Championship. Very, very popular championship this one is. And as I say, I'm covering League 4. This is week 2 out of 10. Last week we were at Fuji in Japan. This week we have come over to Croatia and we are at the Dragon Trail Seaside, but more about that in a second. I do just want to give a quick shout out, if I can, to our sponsors, and that is W.GG, the energy drink for gamers. If you head over to their website and you enter the code URL7, then you may be able to get yourself a bit of an extra discount on some of their products. Our other sponsor, and we're glad to have them, is Eldridge Air Conditioning. Fantastic to have you guys with us this season, so thanks for your help. Now on to the Sunday season. Now, as I've mentioned, I'm with the League 4. There are 5 leagues. It's a really popular championship, this is, and it's fantastic. We've got 5 leagues. Now, if you do want to see what's happening elsewhere, then if you head over to these guys' YouTube, you can see all the other races. Now, as I say, I cover League 4. So League of Champions is covered by Firepower, and he can be found at URL Ultimate Racing League 7370. League 1 is covered by Thingamajig's Racing Channel 6643. League 2 is covered by Paul, and he can be found at URL _Paul_E_72. And League 3 is covered by Ruthless Rufus. So they're the other 4 commentators. So yeah, check them out and you'll see some fantastic racing throughout all of the leagues. Onto this one then. I mentioned it already. We are at Dragon Trail Seaside in Croatia. It is a fictional track. Pity really. I mean, what a fantastic view with those mountains in the background. It's 3.2 miles, it's 17 turns, and it is basically just one big wobbly triangle with a couple of chicanes in there. One very notable chicane is the one affectionately known as the chicane of death. But we will hopefully not see why as we go around the track, but we will point it out anyway as we go. So we'll crack on with this then. We're going to go down the order after the guys have been out and done their qualifying. This is just a sprint race. We do have 2 races for you, 15 laps on each. Now, as I say, this is a sprint race, so it is just going to be soft tyres, go as fast as you can and get around the track as quick as you can. It is as simple as that. Race 2 slightly different, where we will have to have a mandatory pit stop, but we'll talk about race 2 when we get to race 2. So let's just crack on and have a walk down the grid, shall we, and see who is where. So on pole position, everybody in the same car, by the way, the Honda NSX, the GR4, and in pole position we have Enzo Jack. In second place we have Wayne G. In third place we have Big Dan. I need to walk a little bit quicker tonight. In fourth place we've got Harry Poppins. Doesn't look like he's got his livery on there, or has he? Yes, he has, I think. I'm not sure, I don't know. In the second, Marlborough. In fifth we've got Frowny. In sixth we've got Scott in the Napa. In seventh we've got Aussie Rooster. Fantastic livery on that. I absolutely love the livery on that car, and he's got the rooster on there as well. So Aussie Rooster there in 7th. Pete, another fantastic livery, the Valvoline. I do like that one as well, but Pete is in 8th. Then in 9th we've got a Bazza in the Falcon. 10th is DB. 11th is Molepiece. Is that? I'm not sure he's got his livery on there as well, but that's Molepiece. 12th is Castrian. 13th is Captain Slow in the other Napa, and down in, is that right? And it says 14th is Hoppers, but that's not Hoppers, that's Captain Slow. So we seem to have one missing, but I'm sure it'll all come good very shortly. Anyway, that's the best livery. I am slightly biased because I am part of Team Lucky Strike, so I am slightly biased, and I think that's the best looking car on track at the minute. But anyway, that's the starting lineup. It does say Hoppers is in there at 14, but that is definitely, oh, it is Hoppers, sorry, it is Hoppers. Oh, I don't know where I am. Never mind, let's just get going, shall we? Hoppers is in the Lucky Strike NSX, so apologies for the cock up there. Well, let's just get this race started, shall we? Rolling start, 15 laps. Great course, quite technical actually. It doesn't look it, but it is quite technical as they go across the start finish line to start lap 1, and we are away as everybody lines up behind Enzo Jack as they head towards turn 1, which is more just a bit of a kink in the road down towards the first of the chicanes, and that is turns 2 and 3. Very careful on the accelerator on the exit of this one. You do not want to get chucked out there to the left, and we're just making sure everybody has gone through, and it looks like they have. Everybody's got, oh, as I say that, Captain Slow gets it slightly wrong as we head into the chicane through turns 2, and well, the car just didn't turn, did it? Well, I'm not sure what happened there, but Captain Slow has now found himself right at the back and playing catch up. Has he got some problem? He seems to have a problem. There is some sort of mechanical issue, or is he going now? He does seem to be struggling, so there is some sort of technical issue with Captain Slow, so we'll let him sort that one out as we go back up to our leader Enzo Jack as he brings everybody down the hill now towards turn 12, and a right-hander. There are 3 of these are the pointy bits of the triangle. This one's quite tough, but we get around there. Okay, that's turn 12, and now we are entering into the chicane of death, and we are just going to make sure everybody gets through there. It is usually the exit that the accidents happen, because it is just a very narrow gap to get through as Hoppers goes through, and it does look like Captain Slow has had to retire. We are down to 13, unfortunately, so Captain Slow has had to retire through technical issues, which is unfortunate. And we've got a yellow flag, and it's Bazza. Well, let's just go back and see what's happened to Bazza as we approach turn 17. Well, the back end has just come round on him, hasn't he? That's it's a bit of an unusual place for that to happen. Probably a bit too heavy on the brakes, I'm not too sure. I don't think there was a touch from anybody. He was challenging Pete. He goes to the inside, he's on the brakes, and yeah, the back end has just come round on him, and Pete really got nowhere to go except to T-bone him, so that's unlucky for Bazza. First lap, turn 17, and the back end has come round to complain on him. Hoppers there in 13th is just coming up to try and catch up to the back of Bazza now. So back up to the front again. Enzo Jack takes us through the first chicane for the second time, heading down towards turn 5, then into 6, so through turn 5 and then into 6. So it's Enzo Jack, from Wayne G, Big Dan, Harry Poppins, Scott in 5th, then we've got Frowny, Aussie Rooster, Pete, DB, Molepiece, Castrian, Bazza in 12th, and Hoppers in 13th. Probably lining up now. The back 2 are just slightly losing touch with the back of the pack. A great shot of the cruise ship in the distance there. Regular cruises to the Dragon Trail track to see this racing, and you can just see a few of the yachts that belong to the drivers in the harbour as we come into the chicane of death. for the second time. Oh, a bit of a touch with a wall there from Big Dan and Wayne G. No dramas really though. Enzo Jack, oh, what's happened to Enzo Jack? He was leading. Or was it the exit? Well, he just took a bit too much curb, didn't he? That's not the usual disaster that happens at that chicane. He just took a little bit too much curb, which unsettled the car and threw him to the right as Scott bumps into the back of him, although I think that's down to lag. Looking at that that car of Scott's is wobbling all over the place, isn't it? That's going to make life difficult for Enzo Jack trying to pick a spot to overtake. But Enzo Jack unlucky, he was leading and now finds himself down in 5th, and he is right in amongst it now. He's got Frowney coming up fast behind him. So I tell you what we'll do, we will go on board with Frowney as we go through the first of the chicanes. We've got Aussie Rooster coming up fast in 7th behind. We've got Enzo Jack in front, Scott in 4th just ahead, nicking a little bit of that corner on turn 5, trying to get it tight on the apex through turn 6. Now down towards 7, go down the hill through turn 7 and 8, wave to the crowd on the right as they go through turn 8, then it's up through turn 9 and 10, then on to 11. Now 10, you don't want to go too far to the right. 11 again is just more of a kink in the road, and then it is down the hill towards turn 12. Hard on the brakes for this right-hander. Aussie Rooster getting closer and closer, and then it is down towards the chicane. So we'll stay with Frowney as we go through the chicane just to get a driver's eye view of it. Safely through, just a bit of a paint scrape of the barrier I think from Frowney, but no dramas there. He got through there quite quickly and safely, which is more important. And then into turn 17 and on to the start finish. I was going to say straight, but it doesn't start until about this point here, and then we are off and running. 653 metres straight across the start finish line. Great place for overtaking if you can get in the slipstream, as Aussie Rooster is trying to do exactly that. And then we are into the chicane again for the 4th time. So up to our race leader, it is Wayne G. Now then, we're having a bit of a battle between Harry Poppins and Big Dan. Harry Poppins in second, Big Dan pushing him along. He keeps having a bit of a look, doesn't he? Big Dan, he's trying to get in the mirrors of Harry Poppins, trying to unsettle him. And if he can force a mistake, then Big Dan is ready to pounce. But Harry Poppins keeping cool, concentrating on the back of Wayne G's car at the minute. And if he can get a little bit closer, he might be able to pick up the slipstream and get away from Big Dan. But Big Dan is doing a fantastic job of staying with him. Down the hill they go. Fastest lap so far is Harry Poppins on a 1:47.0. So he's not messing about, is he? He's going for it. As it is starting to get dark now, you can see headlights on. Thought there'd be a few more street lights. Oh, well, Scott, I thought Scott had gone into the barrier, but he just seems to be bouncing all over the place. Now that's not Scott's driving, I can assure you that, unless it is. I don't think so. But he's not dragging the wheel around. Unfortunately, it is lagged down to the internet. Not a lot he can do about that. But it is pretty off-putting for the people around him, especially if they're trying to make an overtake, and you can see his car wobbling side to side. It's either that or he's got the wheel nuts loose. If that's the case, he needs to have a word with his chief mechanic. But Wayne G out in front doing a good job since he got his nose in front, keeping it nice and steady. Harry Poppins just put in another fastest lap, a 1:46.8, so the fact that Big Dan is behind him is not bothering him at all. He has got his sights fixed firmly on the back of Wayne G's car, and I don't think it's going to be long before Harry Poppins is challenging Wayne G for the lead of this race. He just needs to keep the pressure on. These two just starting to open up a little bit of a gap now. Back to Big Dan. Big Dan doing 147s. Harry Poppins, as we've seen, in the 46s. And Wayne G in the low 47s. So, pretty evenly matched. Scott in fourth, as we've seen. He's now getting closer and closer to Big Dan. Enzo Jack in fifth. Well, we saw what happened to him. He's still got Ozzy Rooster behind him, and then Frowny in seventh. Then we've got a few car lengths back to Pete. We just see Pete in eighth, entering into the chicane of death, but nobody seems to have died tonight. These guys seem pretty much to have it sussed. Oh, I say that, Enzo Jack again seems to be a victim of this chicane. Well, let's just see what happened. Oh, it wasn't, it was Scott. Well, that is so unlucky for Enzo Jack. Now we're going to follow Scott through. We enter the chicane. On the exit, he just goes a little bit deep into the final turn. He hits the barrier, and Enzo Jack has got absolutely nowhere to go. Well, that is so unlucky, because that has now put Enzo Jack, who was on pole position and led for the first couple of laps, is now down in eighth, and soon maybe he's got damage to the front. He's got damage to the front right tyre. That's going to slow him down, so DB should be able to get a lot closer to him. That is so unlucky for Enzo Jack. Now Scott has carried on. Should he have waited? I don't know. Should he have waited? I don't know. That's not for me to call that one, as he has a bit of a battle with Frowny through the chicane. I suppose at the end of the day, Enzo Jack was behind Scott, and there's not much Scott could have done about it. He was merely a passenger when he was bouncing off of them walls. The lag is definitely causing some issues though, as Frowny tries to go side by side with him as they go down through turn 7. So Frowny's still trying to get all over the back of Scott. Let's go on board with Frowny and get his view of things, and you can see Scott's car wobbling around, so Frowny really has got to pick his moment if he wants to get an overtake done. Ozzy Rooster in 7th, he's got by Pete in 7th. Enzo Jack down in 8th after his issue with Scott. Now, will Frowny be conscious of that? He may have saw all of that happening, and earlier on at the lap before, a bit of a flash of the lights, so I'm not sure what was going on there. But that's Frowny in 5th. He just seems to be losing a little bit of ground on Scott at the minute. And Ozzy Rooster is right up alongside now Frowny. So has Frowny got some technical issues? We saw a flash of the lights earlier. Well, I'm not sure what that was about. Frowny in 5th, Ozzy Rooster in 6th. It looks like Ozzy Rooster is going to be putting a challenge in as they go through turn 1. And Ozzy Rooster just gets his bumper in front of Frowny, although Frowny is on the inside as they head towards the chicane. Ozzy Rooster having to go the long way round. He will be on the inside for turn 3, sorry. But Frowny has just managed to stay in front. Ozzy Rooster has to drop back into 6th, down towards turn 5. They go. Cut that corner if you can, and then into turn 6 before they start down the hill. And through, well, there's a sort of S section of this track, but Ozzy Rooster having to just slot in again. Oh, now we've had a change at the top, and I missed that, so let's just go back to see if we can find out what it was. And it is on that start-finish straight down towards turn 1. So through turn 1, Wayne G in front, Harry Poppins has a look at the inside, and is this where he's going to get it done? And he does, into the chicane. Wayne G just has to let Harry Poppins through, otherwise it could have been a bit disastrous. A great move from Harry Poppins though to get himself up into P1 of this race. We are just approaching halfway, we're on lap 7. Wayne G though is not going to let Harry Poppins get away that easy. He is sticking with him. Harry Poppins now with a 1:46.6 as the fastest lap. Wayne G in the 47s, so if Harry Poppins keeps this up, he should start pulling away and opening a gap, but Wayne G will be looking at staying in the slipstream of Harry Poppins as they go down the hill towards turn 12 for the 7th time. Wayne G pulls to the inside, he's got the inside line then through turn 12, they are door to door. Wayne G gets it done, fantastic move there, great racing from these two, a lot of respect between these two drivers as they go into the chicane of death. Wayne G just taking a little bit of paint off of that driver's door. Big Dan has now crept up to the back of these, so while Wayne G and Harry Poppins are having a bit of a fight for P1, Big Dan is creeping up in the background, so they will have to look in their mirrors. But Big Dan having a great race so far and keeping in touch with these two. At one point we thought they were going to take off and disappear into the distance, but Big Dan's there. We'll just watch Wayne G and Harry Poppins as they go through the chicane, or the first chicane, and I don't think Harry Poppins is going to be challenging Wayne G at that point. He's just got to stay with him now, maybe get him after they go through turn 10, 11, down the hill towards 12. That may be what Harry Poppins is thinking. If he can get the move done at turn 12, if he can get on the inside, then he will have the advantage going through the chicane. So we'll just follow these two until we get to that point, because I think this is where Harry Poppins is going to start lining Wayne up. So as they go through turns 10 and 11, and then down the hill to 12, and this is where I thought Harry Poppins may have made a move, but he's not quite close enough, is he? He really wanted to get in front of Wayne G before they got to the chicane, but he's not. He's had to sit there, so he's having to bide his time again now and maybe do the same as he did on the previous lap, although Wayne G made a slight mistake there and has had a bit of a scrape with Barrier. That's allowed Harry Poppins up through the inside into turn 17. Harry Poppins retakes the lead. Wayne G slots in behind. Wayne G is now going to try and get a good exit out of turn 17, get in the slipstream of Harry Poppins and then get the challenge done before they get to turn 2, sorry. They're just coming up to turn 1 now. Harry Poppins still out front. Wayne G virtually pushing him along. Wayne G goes up the inside, although he is on the outside as they get to the chicane. Harry Poppins taking the tighter line and gets it done. He's managed to stay in front of Wayne G. Wayne G just being frustrated there. Big Dan all the while creeping up to the back of these two guys while they are battling away. We are going to go down the pack and see what's happening elsewhere, although I really do want to stick with these as well, but we will quickly go down. So Scott still in 4th, Brownie in 5th, he's made his way back up to 5th, Aussie Rooster in 6th, Pete is 7th, Enzo Jack in 8th. Oh, it was Enzo Jack that was at the front, wasn't he? Sorry, not Brownie, never mind. Enzo Jack in 8th, DB 9th, Castuan 10th, Bazza 11th, with Malpiece 12th and Hoppers 13th. And of course we've had the retirement on Captain Slow due to some sort of technical issue. Now Hoppers in 13th could well get lapped if he doesn't get a move on. So whether Hoppers is having some problems, I know he doesn't like night driving, well who does? But I think it's the old eyeballs that Hoppers has a problem with, especially at night time. So he's doing the best he can out there in the conditions. So back up to our leader, Harry Poppins. Still leading from Wayne G. Wayne G though, right on his backside. Let's go on board with Wayne G. Through turn 1 into turn 2 and 3, which is the first of the chicanes. Wayne G trying to get that car slowed down before he ran into the back of Harry Poppins. Just having to sit there for now. We can see Big Dan creeping up behind. As I say, with these two fighting it out for that top podium spot, Big Dan all the while is getting closer and closer. Great view of the mountains in the background there. I'm sure the drivers are not looking at the view, they're looking at the tarmac and the guy in front, but we can have a look at the view, can't we? And look, them mountains. I'm not sure if they're real or not. I know the track is fictional, but the mountains may well be real, I don't know. So down the hill to 12. Keeping it nice and tight, letting the car drift out to the left as you apply the power on the noisy pedal, and then into the chicane of death through turns 13, 14, then 15 and 16 is the one where the barrier normally jumps out at you, as we see Wayne G just scraping the paint off of the left hand side of that car. I'm surprised the wing mirror is still there, but Wayne G still sitting in second. Harry Poppins just opened up 2 or 3 car lengths gap now back to Wayne G, so he may well have broke the slipstream. I think Wayne G might just about be in the slipstream. I think Big Dan is closer to Wayne G than he was, so it could be Big Dan putting in the challenge. We're on lap 11 of 15, so including this one we've got 4 to go. Frowny in 4th, having a good race so far, with Aussie Rooster in 5th. Enzo Jack, not been a fantastic race for him. He's doing well to get into 6th. Started on pole position, had a couple of issues earlier on, and he's just been struggling ever since, so I'm sure he'll be glad to see the back of this race. But having said that, he's managed to get himself up into 6th, so a good recovery from Enzo Jack. Pete in 7th, DB in 8th. Not really seen much of these guys. Really lonely races for them, to be honest. They're not been involved in any dramas. They're just concentrating on getting around the track. You can see DB's doing 1:48. Scott in 9th. He's managed to do on lap 9 a 1:46.4 and has the fastest lap as well. So Scott has decided to he wants to have a go at getting that extra point. We've got Castrian in 10th. We know Castrian from midweek races. He joined us for the minis, the VGT minis, and been with us since, and it's great to have him with us. And we've got a yellow flag, and it looks like Pete. Oh, Pete, as the chicane of death claimed another victim. Let's have a look. So we enter at turn 13 through 14, 15. Well, yeah, I think he just went over the curb a bit too much at 15, which has totally threw him out. So it wasn't really the barriers that caught him; it was the curbs. So that's unlucky for Pete, who now drops down to 10th. We've got Baza in 11th, with Malpiece 12th, and Hoppers in 13th. And you can see Hoppers, as we predicted a couple of laps ago, Hoppers is getting the blue flag wave as the guys do lap him, and Hoppers gets out of the way for them. He doesn't want to hold anybody up, so well done to him. Up to our race leader though, Harry Poppins, still just got that little bit of breathing space between himself and Wayne G. And likewise for Wayne G back to Big Dan. Just a couple of car lengths, just enough to just take the pressure off. Big Dan in third then. Brownie in fourth as we go down the hill to turn 12. It is getting very dark out there now, and these guys will be struggling to see the apexes and the exits of the corners. This section of the track not very well lit. You can see the lights there, but they're not on. Maybe it's the local council don't want to switch the lights on after a certain time of night. That's what it is. So good job the helicopters there, shining a little bit of light on the track. But Brownie goes through, Aussie Rooster goes through, then we've got Enzo Jack in sixth, going through the tunnel down towards turn 17. Oh, Scott had a bit of an issue. I'm just going to go back again because I can't quite see what has happened. So Scott goes around turn 12. The lag, I mean, it must be causing problems for Scott, although he probably doesn't see it. So into turn 13 at the start of the chicane. Seems very cautious as we go through there, and well, I'm not quite sure what happened there. I can only guess it's the lag that threw him at the barrier, which is unfortunate if that's what's happened. You can see he's got damage to the front, he's got damage to the back, the right tyre is damaged, so that's all going to slow him down. And you can see Castrian fast approaching Scott, and Pete just behind in 10th. So these guys were trying to get that 8th position away from Scott, although with that lag you've got to pick your moment. Bazza went down in 11th with Maltese. A very, very lonely race for Maltese. It's like he's out there on a country road. It is pitch black. He's the only car out there. The only good thing about night racing is you get to see those brake discs glowing red hot as the guys try and get the cars slowed down. About £3,000 a corner apparently for the brakes on these cars, and they have to be changed for every race. So pretty expensive hobby for these guys. As we see Harry Poppins around turn 17, heading towards the start finish line to start lap 14. So 2 laps left then for Harry Poppins and the leaders. Wayne G still in second with Big Dan third. These three got quite a decent gap back to the rest of the pack. The nearest to them is Frowny, and he is a good few seconds behind Big Dan. So the podium looks like it's set. It is really which step these guys are going to be on. I think Big Dan might have settled for third, but Wayne G would definitely like to get himself onto the bigger step, although he does seem to be losing a little bit of touch with Harry Poppins. Harry Poppins retaking the fastest lap, a 1:46.0, and you can see that Harry Poppins has been quite consistent in the last 5-6 laps. They are all in the 46s, so Harry Poppins is not letting up, is he? We're just going to go down and see if we can find any battling, but everybody is pretty spread out, to be honest. It is all quite cautious stuff. Scott with the yellow headlamps, not the best in the dark, I've found. We could do with those big Explorer light strips on the roof, couldn't we, like the rally cars have, to light up the way, especially on tracks like this where the tight-fisted council won't switch the lights on so we can actually see the cars. Pete down in 9th with Castrian Bazza, well, Bazza is parked up, so what's happened to him? We are coming through turn 7. What happened to Bazza then? Oh, well, that was a big drift through turn 7 and 8, and well, he just couldn't get it back, could he? And has ended up facing the wrong way, and that's why he's on the grass, parked on the grass. He's just trying to get himself facing the right direction. So another one who will be glad to see the back of this race, I'm sure, is Bazza. MLP's in 12th with Hoppers in 13th. It is so dark out there, isn't it? You'd have thought, with it being a fictional track, nobody's actually paying for the electricity on this track, so put the lights on and then we might be able to see where we're going and what's happening. We'll jump on board with Harry Poppins and you can see exactly what he's up against. So he is doing a fantastic job to be consistent 146 when you can't actually see where you're going. It's more important that you see the apexes and the exits of the track for your racing, but we can see that Harry Poppins, he's not complaining. He is just getting on with it, and he is going to be ready to take the win. And I'm going to stay with Harry Poppins. Well, we'll have a quick rundown. So Harry Poppins is out in front of us, you know. We've got Wayne G, Big Dan, Brownie, Aussie Rooster in 5th, then Enzo Jack, Scott in 7th, EB 8th, Peter 9th, then we've got Castrian, Bazza, Molepiece and Hoppers. And then if we go back up to our race leader and soon to be race winner Harry Poppins as he goes around turn 17 for the final time. I was going to say you can see the checkered flag, but he probably can't. He just knows he's on his final lap. A flash of the lights and a fantastic win for Harry Poppins, with Wayne G coming in 2nd and Big Dan in 3rd. A great battle between Harry Poppins and Wayne G. Big Dan just couldn't quite catch up to them, could he? Frowny comes over the line in 4th. He's pleased with that, and so he should be. Aussie Rooster in 5th. A good race from him. Enzo Jack in 6th. Very unlucky earlier on in the race, but done well to get himself back up to 6th. Then we've got quite a gap then back to Scott, who's going to come in 7th. The battle seems to be for 8th between Pete and DB. As Scott crosses the line, Pete is going to get it just from DB. Then we've got Castrian just coming around that final turn now, and he's going to come home in 10th. So well done to Castrian. Bazza in 11th. Not been a great night for Bazza so far. Looking forward to what he can do in race 2. Maybe it might be a little bit lighter for them in race 2, but Bazza across the line in 11th, with Molepiece who's going to come home in 12th. Hopper's already finished in 13th, and unfortunately Captain Slow had to retire earlier on. So that was race 1 here at Dragon Trail Seaside. Hope you can join me again for race 2. I look forward to chatting to you then.